So, a couple of things I am going to mention, which you probably already know it's coming because everybody knows about the Charizard raid up to now. So, when I mention a fourth starter, it means Charmander because Charmander is a starter from Kanto. You can get him. You can't actually get Charmander, but the only way to get Charmander is you have to breed Charizard, the one that you got from the raid. That's the only way to get him. So it's not actually a spoiler. It shows up on the news section when you're on the Poke Portal. Like I said, not a spoiler. It's already up there, and such. So you already know it's there, no matter how far you're in the game. Now there's multiple ways in order to get to the right star. You have to be everything. You have to be 5 stars in order to gain the 6 stars. Then, which would unlock the possibility of unlocking the 7 star raid, which is Charizard's. But that event is over right now. It'll be back on the 15th. So that'll be the only chance you have at catching a Charizard. And then breeding Charmanders from it to give away, the people. So, so when I mention a Pokemon that's not in the game yet, that's different. Really different. For example, I'm gonna show off a Pokemon that's not actually in the game, and I wish it was. Milotic. Yeah, that's not a spoiler. It's not in the game. Unfortunately, it's not in the game. That's not a spoiler. If I was spoiling, I'd be mentioning Pokemon that's in the game that you haven't caught yet. That's a spoiler. If I mention a Pokemon that's not in the game yet, it's not a spoiler. Unfortunately, it means they haven't actually got around to, like adding certain Pokemon like Milotic in the game yet. They haven't thought about it yet. So I don't class it as a spoiler. Um, so so the obvious thing back to Charmander, um, it's not a spoiler Pokemon. It's already up there in the news as Charizard though. Um, so that's what I keep telling people. It's not a spoiler. Well, neither is Milotic because Milotic's not actually in the game. So what spoiler means is a Pokemon that's in the game. So when you're basically referring to a Pokemon that's actually in the game but you haven't seen yet, that's a spoiler because you haven't seen the Pokemon yet. So I'm gonna list one Pokemon, for example, that is in the game, or whatever, but most haven't seen in the game. Now it's going to be one. Um, so so I'm gonna name one Pokemon at the top of my head. That probably some don't even know. Um, okay, so the Pokemon I'm gonna mention is Floetti. Floetti. Now Floetti actually is in the game. That can be a spoiler to some. But as you know, it's not a new Pokemon. It's an older Pokemon, so it's not really a spoiler when you think about it. But now I'm gonna mention a Pokemon that actually is a spoiler. So the spoiler Pokemon I am gonna mention is Iron Tusk. Now, Iron Tusk is one of the Titan Pokemon. So in a way, that is spoiling because you're mentioning a Pokemon that's in the game, that's new, you haven't seen before at all. But when you mention an old Pokemon, um, like say for example, like Scyther, that's not spoiling. It's not spoiling. It just goes to show that they're already in the game. Because you already know deep down from most previous games, they are in it. If you get what I mean now. um, So, like I'm saying, if you have a new Pokemon that you've never seen before and you spoil it, then it counts. But if it's a Pokemon, an old one, like say, a Pokemon like something you've never seen in the game before and you just come across it, that's a spoiler. Or if you mention the second version, the second Maradon or the second Karudon, then that's a spoiler in the game. That's a spoiler for most. Because at one point when I played the game, I didn't know there was a second version. And I can understand why Poke Team did that. They wanted to do it so that you can trade that copy for the other Pokemon of the other version. That's why it's an exclusive. So yeah, so there you go. It's certain Pokemon. Up to now. It's like mentioning Vaporeon. Vaporeon's not a spoiler Pokemon because when you get Eevee, you're probably gonna get, But if it was a new evolution of Eevee, then it would be a spoiler. Yeah, because nobody would have seen that new evolution. So that would count as a spoiler because nobody's seen it. If it was in the game, but it's not. So there isn't a new evolution of Eevee. Well, yet. So, so nobody knows when the next evolution line. I mean, I want to see every single evolution of Eevee. I do. There's a lot of evolutions that could work with Eevee. You'd have a bug type Eevee, which look a bit more bug like. Then you would have like a fighting type Eevee, which will look a bit more like a fighting type evolution. I also think there should be a normal evolution that comes after Eevee, which I actually thought of a good name for it, Fluffeon, because it'd be furrier than Eevee, and such. Then I was thinking of a steel type Eevee evolution, which would be more of armor. And then when it comes to a ground type evolution, it would resemble something to do with the ground, and such. But if it was a rock type, then it'd be covered in rocks. That would be a rock type evolution. If it was a poison, it'd be covered in absolute poison. If it was flying, I would imagine its ears being wings, so then it'd be able to fly, which would look cute. Something like that. And then Drakeon being more of the dragon type, which could work under Eevee, because there would have to be something to that evolution to get that evolution. So I think with Drakeon, you'd have to do something to get that evolution. Something a bit more challenging, which would make sense. So that means climbing or whatever while Eevee is in your party, meaning climbing this massive rock side thing, and you have like rocks climbing, like getting pushed off the cliff to try and knock you down. So your goal would be to get up at the top or whatever of this cliff, and fight a dragon type Pokemon, which is logical because it makes sense. Like a strong one, meaning you would have to fight that Pokemon as Eevee. Then it would work. That means when you beat that dragon type Pokemon, your Eevee would eventually start evolving into Drakeon, which would be the dragon type Pokemon. And it would learn some dragon type moves, which is what I want to see from Eevee. And I hope to God, please, I hope they had Melodic in the game. I really do want Melodic. It's my favorite Pokemon, favorite of all time. It's like my favorite legendary is actually Giratina, but it's not actually in the game either, unfortunately. I don't know if they'll be added as DLC. I don't know yet, unfortunately. I mean, if we're lucky enough, maybe they'll get added as DLC, maybe, like certain Pokemon. Now, Dialga has to have something towards it. Something. Dialga has to be in the game. Maybe DLC, maybe. because a lot of theories go through my head with the Elder. He could be in it. Um, but maybe DLC because he's to do with time. So I mean, you get the idea. He's to drill. I mean, you already know the basics of Scarlet and Violet. Violet's futuristic. Scarlet is more of past Pokemon, so it's a bit different. Um, so that's why I think like the Dialga to do with time would be good on both ends. As story. Uh, but back to what I was saying before. Charmander's line is not a spoiler. Everyone knows who Charmander is, and they already know it's in the game. Because of the Charizard raid. Because of the Charizard raid, you're able to breed Charizard. Everyone knows Charizard's raid is up because who tells everyone? Pokemon Team. Pokemon Team leak about the Charizard raid, which they do on purpose because they want everyone to know that the Charizard raid is up from a certain date until a certain date. I think it was the 2nd to the 4th, or the 1st to the. I think it was the 1st to the 4th or whatever of December. But I got nothing on the 1st. Unfortunately, it didn't show up for me on the 1st. I came out. I think it was the 2nd day. I think third or second or third day it showed up for me. Charizard is back on the 15th in a raid. If you haven't got him already. He is back on that date to catch him. If you haven't got him already. So then once you actually manage to get Charizard, then you've got him. But if you don't know how to beat Charizard, it's easy. You just need a couple of Pokemon, that are able to beat him. You need a Sylveon. Sylveons can be really good, but it needs a Terra typing, because that's what I use. And I found the battle extremely easy. I beat it within seconds, or even minutes. It was too easy. Now my whole team, the rest of the team, was a bunch of Azumarill. It worked. Charizard got his ass kicked. Literally his ass kicked. It was funny. What's your favorite Pokemon? Milotic. Yeah, that's my favorite. It's not in the game though, sadly. I actually miss it from the game. I really do wish it actually was in the game because it's a water type and it can learn Ice Beam and such. It's a huge disappointment. I also think Giratina would have been a good Pokemon to add, but I don't know if it would work with the plot. Most likely, probably not. Maybe Dialga. Maybe Dialga might work better in DLC, but I just want to see my Pokemon. Maybe a couple of my favorites added in. That would be good. So yeah. Played Pokemon for Nintendo 64 and it was pretty good fun. You should try playing the rest of the Pokemon games. They're good. They're good going forward. Most actually are good. Especially when you have gyms and stuff. I mean, you'd like the new one. The new one is, it has gyms in it. It has trials. You love the trials. In it, there's a bunch of everything in that. It's pretty good. It's one of the best. Yeah. But you do need a Switch though. A Nintendo Switch. But at least you can actually go in the same session together. You can roam around together, and you can catch exclusive Pokemon that usually show up on someone else's end. You can actually catch them on your end, which is pretty good. So it's like everyone's in the same session together. That means with a bunch of friends. So that's something. But unfortunately, you do need membership to actually, to be able to play online together. It does cost me a year. to do it and such. So yeah, so yeah, you could actually give that a try if you chose to. I mean, if you chose to, that means we could all be roaming around together, rolling around on bikes and all sorts. I mean, if you were thinking about it at some point, which might be possible, I think. Maybe sometime in the future, maybe. You can actually have up to 4 people. Yeah, 4 people in the same session, which is pretty good as well. One per certain Pokemon though, you have to be in the same area when you evolve it, and then it'll evolve into another evolution, which is a co-op thing. There's a lot of stuff to do on it, especially story-wise. A lot of trading and such. Fortunately, that'll be too much money. Yeah, as of right now. Maybe when they get cheaper. Maybe when the Switches get cheaper for you, you might be able to. Maybe eventually. And also when the games go down as well. Which would be a start. But yeah. So, who's your favorite Pokemon? Up to now. I don't have one. Yeah, maybe you need to get on more games, maybe, to find out which would be your favorite. Yeah, maybe more games might encourage it. Maybe watch, basically looking at all the Pokemons in the Pokedex, maybe, and looking at them and see which one you find better. Can't remember their powers and classes. Apparently you've got the water types, like Milotic that I showed off. So yeah, so apparently these are the water types. Ones like this. And whatever. Especially Gyarados is also water. He's a water serpent. He's like similar as Levathian. From Final Fantasy VII. Then you've got Psyduck. He's a yellow duck that holds his head like he's got a headache. He's actually a psychic type, also water. So you've got like a lot of Pokemon like that. You also got a Ditto, which just looks like a big pink blob, that just transforms into any Pokemon on the battlefield, which is actually also pretty cool. It can also be good in battles, if you're using Ditto. It also copies opponents' moves and such. Charizard, Charmander, Charizard, Pikachu, and Bulbasaur are 4 I can remember. Yeah, Charizard is actually my favorite starter. I love Charizard. That's why I usually always pick Charmander to get into Charizard, and then he can be really useful with Fly, Dragon type moves, and a couple of other moves. Because he could be really strong. If trained right. I mean, at the moment on Violet, mine is actually level 100, my Charizard. Such. Pikachu is actually a good one. Oh, I've actually got a special Pikachu in my game. I've got like a flying Pikachu. It has balloons. Yeah, that's why it has a flying type move. I mean, just like the other games where Pikachu had surf and it was just surfing on a surfboard, which was also pretty funny. My sister actually likes. I think my sister's favorite Pokemon has to be Shiny Charizard. I think. At least I think it is. because she likes the way shiny Charizard looks. It's black with like a bit of red on the wings, which looks epic. Yeah. I know in Sword and Shield you can actually ride. I think you ride a bike on that one. I think. And then in Let's Go, you can actually ride a Pokemon. Pokemon costumes for Sackboy. Lol. That would be funny. Yes. Pokemon costumes would have been funny for Sackboy. Even Digimon would have been a good idea. To bring into it. That would have been epic. I mean, could you just imagine, like, they'd have, like, little emotes depending on what costume you're wearing. Like, if you're, in a Charizard costume, you'd be breathing fire. Or something, or you'd have a stick and start blowing fire. Oh, that would have been epic. Especially as well as some other choices as well would have been a good idea. And such. You know, it would have been a good idea if they brought Pokemon games to consoles as well, like other consoles like PS4 and such. That would have been a great idea. That means more people joining in on games and such. That would have been good. Yeah, like really good. I mean, maybe one. Maybe one day we'll all maybe play together in a future Pokemon game. Maybe. Maybe one day. Maybe when I don't know, maybe something to do with Sony, maybe when something happens to Sony or something, and then revolting to messing with something else. I mean, nobody knows yet on what can happen, so I guess we just have to hope, maybe. Yeah. I think I've lost. I think I've probably lost other things to say. Yeah, I think I've run out of things to say. Uh, or Pokemon costumes for Among Us. That would be funny. Yeah, it would be funny. Pikachu as an imposter. Could you imagine a Ditto though? Ditto would be funnier as an imposter because every time you'd end up as an imposter, you would end up as a Ditto. Ditto would be able to transform into anyone. Just like a pink blob. That would be funny. Like, as you're roaming around, you'll be able to transform into other people so they'll get the blame. Oh my gosh, that'd be funny. Especially having the dill effects. It would have been so funny. Especially if one of them was a Mew costume, it would have the effect of a Mew transforming into whatever person you played as. I mean, if you wanted a Pikachu as an imposter, then give it the Ditto eyes. It looks creepy and funny at the same time because there is an imposter Pikachu. It's clearly a Ditto in its form, where its eyes are not corrected. It looks like tiny little dots, and its mouth is more of a straight line. It just looks hilarious. The way it looks. It's funny in the anime, unfortunately, because one Ditto actually tried to transform, but it kept getting the face wrong, which was funny as hell. But there has been some Dittos where they actually have fixed the face, and they actually look like the actual Pokemon themselves, so then you actually believe it. Wish I could show an example. Let's see if I can draw this. This Ditto imposter. Alright, okay, so I'm gonna draw this right now. Alright, so okay, so that is Ditto. Yeah, that is clearly Ditto. Except it's not pink at the moment. Yeah, so imagine it, say, as Pikachu. Just like you suggested. So first thing I'm gonna do is the eyes. Creepy eyes, because that's what it has, unfortunately. Right, so right, okay, I think I nearly got it. Okie dokie. Okay, I've done now. As a Pikachu. That is Pikachu in Ditto form. Camera's acting a bit weird. Okay, that is Pikachu Ditto. See the difference? So it would transform into that thing right there. Like any Pokemon like that, but with a face. That's what it goes into. So I'm gonna like add like a little direction. Okay, so like it can just literally transform to any Pokemon. Now I'm gonna draw another one. Another Ditto imposter. This time it's gonna be a Charmander. um, two eyes again, unfortunately, because that's Ditto for you. Ditto is extremely creepy. Right, okie dokie. Okay, done it. That is Charmander. But it's Ditto. It's a Ditto imposter. Again. So, there you go. Two ups and out. Imagine seeing these things roaming around in Among Us with a creepy face. It would be funny as hell. That just would be really hilarious. Um, yeah, so seeing those things roaming around his face. Yeah, it's funny because Ditto hasn't been able to fix his face at all. Because Ditto can never fix his face. It's hard for him. Um, he does it in the anime though. He fixes his face. Um, which is pretty funny. Uh, so seeing something like that would just make everyone laugh. You would be able to do it as well, except it wouldn't have the face issue. It would be more directly of looking like them. So that means you would have had like one that would look like a normal Charmander, or a normal Pikachu, or a normal something else. Um, so that would have been really, really funny. um, so let's see. I'm gonna draw Pikachu with a knife, because it's funny. Right. Okay. All right. Again, draw Charmander with a knife because it's funny. Right, and then have that tongue sticking out. The imposter tongue. And there you go. They both have knives now. A bit blurry, I think. Yeah, it's got a knife. Pretty good so far. Like, they're just ready to kill. I also put their tongue out as well, which is what the fuck. Which is what the Among Us imposters do. Definitely blends in. So that could be when they actually kill somebody. There actually is a video to do with dittos. Oh, it's hilarious. It's like a ditto invasion, and they transform into the townsfolk, and they kill anyone that's not a ditto, which is similar to Among Us a little bit. So in a way, it's funny. So you can literally just imagine any Pokemon with a ditto face. And it would literally stand out on its own. Oh my gosh. So, which one do you like better out of these two? Do you like Ditto Charmander? Do you like Ditto Pikachu? Or do you like the original Ditto? Yeah, which imposter do you like better out of these three? Ditto Char. That one. Yeah, definitely looks funny. Definitely has that vibe to it, especially with the flame on the end of its tail. Yeah. I probably would have chose Charmander as well as the imposter. Yeah, it would have been so funny. Yeah. Or even if it was like any other form for that matter, if it was like a Jigglypuff or the outfit disguised as that Pokemon outfit, or if it was disguised as another, it still would have been funny. Um. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna try is something similar with a Pokeball. um. Except this one doesn't really have hands, so this one would rather roll around, unfortunately. So now this one can't have a knife. So that one is a Ditto Volturb. That is the Ditto version of Volturb right there. So that is also funny. Oh my gosh. So I don't think you can actually add like a knife to it unless you apparently do it differently. So I think the only thing is its mouth, I think. So if you have it where it's holding the knife in its mouth, then it could be a threat. So there you go. There's the Volturb Ditto with a knife in its mouth. So it would just roll around with a knife in its mouth, which would also be funny. I mean, like I said, you can literally have any Pokemon like that, and it would literally stand out in a funny way. Okay, I think that's enough talking for tonight. I think I'm gonna head straight to bed. And wake up early on the morning or whatever. So I'll probably stream tomorrow, I think. Probably might stream Sackboy. So yeah.